Hi, I'm James Lott Jr. Welcome to In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. And of course, I'm James Lott Jr., like I just said. And welcome for another edition of the show. And I'm bringing you some folks that I love. Two of them I know, one I'm meeting for the first time. And I've been with them before, but they have a movie out that I just watched the screener. Very trippy, folks. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to find out more about this film, the voices, and people who are behind it who star in it. So to my left, I think, is, well, the lead of the film, and it's somebody who I just like so much, and she's an amazing mother. She's so beautiful to say, Amanda Markowitz. Hi, Amanda.
Well, hi, James.
Okay. Now, below me, we have two people. The one I'm just meeting for the first time, because I have some questions for her about Broadway stuff. She's in the film also, and she plays Catherine, and it's Miss Victoria Matlock. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
And then sitting next to her on the other side, another one of my buddies that I've interviewed before also, and then he's actually, I'm going to get all his titles. He is the co-director, he is the writer, he plays Jerry, and I'm assuming you also co-produced this thing too, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, he did. Okay, Mr. Brad Fowler. Hello, Brad.
Hi.
Hello, Bradley. Hello, Brad.
Hi, how are you doing, James? Good to see you.
So we've kept in touch all these, well, the two of us, we've kept in touch all this whole time over on social media, which is a great thing to keep in touch. And I reached out to them to talk about this film they have to help promote this, The Voices. And I call it a psychological horror film. Am I correct?
Psychological thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it.
There's some horror in it. There's some horror in it. I was like, oh, there's some stuff in there. I don't want to give anything. I want people to watch this. I don't want to give it away, but we're going to talk a little bit about the film and stuff. But first, congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And I'm asking everybody, just because in general, because we're in this weird time period, how's everyone doing? Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. It's definitely crazy, but the silver lining is, as you mentioned, I have a daughter, and it's been kind of nice to spend, well, definitely been nice to spend time with her. I think she's changing so much and started walking during this quarantine and has made so many changes, and I might not have seen all of them if I hadn't been home.
How's the family business? How are they doing?
How's what?
The family business.
Oh,
I was there before the Rona. Remember?
Our family restaurant, Factor's Deli, it was closed, completely closed for delivery and takeout. Everything was closed for a while, and we reopened a couple weeks ago for delivery and takeout.
Okay.
And it's been an interesting shift.
Good place, folks. Good place. I get egg salad sandwiches there. They're really good. I love Factor. So I had sent her a picture. I'm like, I'm here. I'm getting some food. So
Will they deliver pastrami to Iowa? That's what I'm wondering. You will?
Seriously. We'll talk about it later.
Oh my God, it's like now is the time to talk about it. I just didn't know.
I would definitely. What do you do? Like, you can get pastrami
delivered. Let's just talk about the deli.
I love it. I love food anyway, so that's a problem. And so now you two, how are you guys doing through this whole thing?
We're good. We're good. I mean, we're as good as you can be in the circumstances. It's just horrible. But we're hanging in there, and we have a daughter as well who's 2.5, so she's a handful, and talking up a storm and taking a lot of our time. But we're lucky to be quarantined with family out in Iowa, so they're getting a chance to really get to know her and spend a lot of time with her, and so that's been really good.
Yeah. We're trying to do some work in the meantime. Victoria's been doing a lot of sewing. I won't show you because the room's a mess. We have my old bedroom from high school, and so we turned it into like an art crafting area. We have a sewing area and like a sculpting and painting area, and I think I've written 3 movies during quarantine, so it's like we're just
trying to stockpile the work while we have the time, and trying to just hang in there like everybody else.
Yeah.
How are you?
First I was going to say, Victoria, blink twice if you need help. Just to blink twice.
Thank you.
Just kidding. No, I am actually good. I mean, I have a keyboard behind. I do music, so I have a keyboard, my microphone. Off to the right, I have a puzzle station. I'm doing The Mandalorian. I'm putting the little baby Yoda. Then I have a painting station in the corner, so I paint. So I got a little.
That's what I want. That's like my dream room right there. I want like one here, one here, one here.
It goes all the way that way. I mean, I have my ring light right there, but it goes all the way down. And this is my office. So I've written several things. I've written a couple books while I was home at the same time. So I mean, I'm like writing music, doing books, doing painting, and I've been organizing. My closet. So I'm trying to turn my second bedroom. I'll make it into a big walk-in closet vanity area. So I've been cleaning that out.
You guys are making me feel pretty unproductive. I've watched about 72,358 television shows.
You're a mother of a child, so that's still something. That's something.
Okay, quite all right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Something.
Tori and I just take turns. We're like, all right, you got her. I gotta go. I'm glad you brought up Star Wars because that's what I sculpt. I'm gonna be making a Mandalorian character pretty soon. But this is Baze Malbus.
Right in front of my face.
Oh, this is Baze Malbus from Rogue One. I'm not done.
Yes, I'm a huge Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars.
Pack there, and I'm a nerd. So I'm about 3/4 of the way done with them. But I'm doing all my Rogue One series right now.
Yeah, I like that. Well, it's so funny because I didn't know you were a big Star Wars fan because I always talk about how I love when Darth comes out at the end and kills everybody. I'm like, that's what Darth does.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I got giddy excited when he did that. But I was saying, on TikTok, I'm part of the Star Wars family. I post all my Star Wars stuff, and it gets like thousands of hits. There are a lot of Star Wars hits.
Yeah, no, if you post about Star Wars, you get way more hits. For a while I was posting my sculpts on Instagram, and I got like thousands of followers from it, and then I just stopped. I don't know, and I didn't stop sculpting. I just stopped taking pictures of them. Like those are mine.
How you're TikToking?
Good story.
What? Yeah, we're not gonna talk about. We're just gonna talk
If
about.
only we had made the movie Star Wars.
I am not on TikTok.
Oh,
I'm so impressed you're on TikTok.
I'm hooked. Apparently, I'm a star on TikTok, and I don't even know how I became a star. I have over 2 million views, and I don't even know how I did that. It's just 4 months. I don't even know how. I don't know why.
Okay, we'll plug our film on TikTok then.
Yeah,
exactly.
I should do that and see what happens. I've done my music on TikTok. I've done that, but I don't know why I'm a star. It's weird. I mean, it's all these people doing dance moves. I don't do dance stuff. I just talk. That's what I do on TikTok. I talk on TikTok. Whatever, 5 times fast. It's crazy.
Okay.
Victoria, I want to ask you, how are you feeling with this whole Broadway is dark? Like it's the first time, and it's such a. I mean, when I go to New York, I always see at least 2 shows. Like it's just the craziest thing.
It's really devastating, not only for obviously my industry because it will be the last to open. I mean, so movie theaters as well, but at least you can view some of that content online. Although there is Broadway HD now, you can view a lot of stuff, and like Hamilton's coming to Netflix or whatever it's coming to. So there's definitely, it's forcing live theater to rethink itself a little bit, which is really cool. I love technology and computers, so I think it's kind of an interesting way to rethink the art of it. But man, all my friends are, I mean, everybody's out of work, but it's all my friends are out of work, and it's hard to see people that thrive in front of live audiences be shuttered.
I was going to say, it's the live element. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I think they may have to rethink, maybe take some seats out and maybe make it so we can go see live events again.
Yeah, or more outdoor theaters. We'll probably there is some of that, but I'm sure they'll get a little bit more play as well, or starting to rethink what is a theater, and theater in the park and stuff is still a thing. It's forcing us to rethink what we need and what we want out of society as a whole, really. So.
Yeah, and it's just sad. I'm a huge plays and musicals person, so I like going to a live experience. When I go to New York all the time, I always see at least 1 or 2 things on and off Broadway, just because that's just what I do.
Yeah, it's unlike anything else. It just is. So hopefully it'll be back. It might take some time. It's really sad to see all the shows that are closed indefinitely or closed for good.
Yeah.
There will be more, and we'll continue on.
Yeah. So, okay, so we have this film. So once again, we got Amanda and Brad working together on another project. You're starring in it, and he's right.
Victoria worked on Love Me Hope too. She was also.
That's right. You were in that too. Yeah, you were in that too.
Yeah.
But I just say for me, because I interviewed you guys before, and I know that you guys. And there's a question. There's a question behind this. That's why there's a question behind it.
Same team all around.
Yeah, exactly. And I was gonna say. So I mean, is it just getting easier and easier to work together?
I think it's incredibly easy to work with this group. I mean, we've done, the features, sure, we've done the 2, but we've done tons and tons of shorts together. you know, we've really cranked out a lot of stuff, you know.
And we know each other so well by
Yeah.
now. It's kind of like we can fight like siblings, but then move on and get work done. So it kind of just is what it is. We're close at work.
This film obviously presented a bunch of additional challenges with the location and the subject matter. And I mean, I literally went out of my way to write what I considered to be two of the hardest roles I could for these two. I mean, obviously I love the story and the concept that sort of birthed it. But as I was doing it, I literally tried to write the most challenging work that I could for both of them. Because I wanted them to be able to show off what they can do, because a lot of times in Hollywood, you don't get those opportunities as actors. So I really wanted to push Amanda and I wanted to push Victoria, and I wanted to give them really challenging work. So
it worked. You both gave incredible performances. No, it worked.
I think they did.
It really worked.
Yeah.
So I would say that it really worked. So Brad, so how would you actually describe the film? Because I said psychological. I mean, because you wrote it, how would you describe the film?
Yeah, I would say it's a psychological thriller that, you know, deals with some horrific concepts. I mean, you know, the two things that scare me the most in life is the, you know, loss of self, because you don't always get control over those circumstances. And this disease in particular is one of the absolute worst, because it's just one triggering event. And it's, you know, it's in your genetic code, and one triggering event, and all of a sudden you're going through something terrible. And I don't want to pretend to act like I'm an expert on it, but I did get a lot of help from some experts in the field. And then it deals with my other thing that I'm terribly afraid of, which is the supernatural, anything that I couldn't potentially go fisticuffs with. A lot of people that suffer from the disease, well, I mean, they do. They hear voices, they see things, and I just couldn't think of anything worse than the loss of the self. And while you're sort of losing yourself, you're also seeing things that you can't explain, and you're having a hard time wrapping your mind around what is reality. And so much of what I researched globally was the voices that people hear, and they're never like nice. They're never like, hey, you know, you're doing a great job. You know, keep it up. Right. You know, I like the way you decorated the place. They're always very negative, and I don't know. I have no idea as to why that is, but that would just be terrifying. I mean, the times you lay in bed at night and let your mind spin, you know, is bad enough. And when your mind sort of, you don't have control over that, I couldn't imagine. So I would describe it as a psychological thriller that deals with some really horrific elements.
And we're talking about schizophrenia, folks. And I have an uncle who's paranoid schizophrenic and has been my whole entire life. And we don't have a relationship because we don't have one because of that. He's not taking any treatment or anything. So he shows up and it's scary. With him, because sometimes he seems super, super just regular. And then, like you said, and all of a sudden he's burning down a house, which he did in my family once. And so it's kind of like this weird thing, because our brain could be so fractured. There's so many things that go on with our brain. And this movie kind of delves into that. And, you know, and granted, you play Grace, and you're the lead in this film, and you're dealing with your sister's issues, aren't you? Yes. I mean, it's film. It's just in a film.
Yes. Yes.
Not in real life.
I show up to my sister at our family's cabin to discover that she is struggling with schizophrenia like our mother had in the past. And it's a lot to handle. And I start wondering if I'm as well going down that path and getting schizophrenia as well, or if something else is happening that's not really answered until the end.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of elements in there that deal with the supernatural as well as mental health, because I don't feel like you can tell the story of this particular disease without delving into the supernatural, simply because, again, globally, at least the research that I did and then the professionals that I talked to said that a common sort of conclusion that people come to as they're beginning to suffer from this disease is to go to the spiritual, because it's almost the only way that a lot of people can explain the unexplainable is to put it up towards what we don't really know anything about. So,
right.
Yeah, I have a family member who also has schizophrenia, so it was I think a really challenging thing for me to dive into as well. I really dove into this role. It was definitely the hardest role I've ever played. When I chose to really take it on and live it, and that stuck with me for sure for like at least a year after filming. I felt ramifications of that for a really long time, which I didn't expect, and I don't think people really realize how roles like this can affect an actor.
I was going to ask you, because I know some people say when they step into the role, they're stepping into the skin, they're stepping into the psyche of the character. Victoria, I mean, it was the same thing for you, or how was it for you? I mean, that's...
Yeah, I think one of the things we talked about a lot is that Amanda and I have really different methods. And I think it actually worked really well at the time because I just think we played off each other really well. But coming from a theater background, I don't function very well staying in it. So I have to flip out. I have to come out. I have to get out and go backstage, as it were. And
I get it. Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So I've over my career kind of figured out for myself how to be able to do that. In what ways and et cetera. So for me, it was, I mean, also one of the absolute hardest things I've ever done. And it's just so terrifying to put that out there in the world too. It's like, it's such a vulnerable thing to play, such a a very hard topic to talk about. And it to be personified on you as an actor is like, it's really hard. So I think it stayed with all of us in kind of different ways. And it was certainly one of the more challenging research roles that I did as well, because I haven't come across one that was really wanting to represent this specific disease well, and not make it corny or phony or not make some sort of comment about how it's evil or wrong or the person's fault or any of those things. So for me, I tried as much as I could to do a lot of research before I even got there to understand how to do that within myself.
Victoria, how did you step into the skin? What's some of your processes, however the word is, to step into it?
I think for me, the starting off point was to kind of understand how, like what's going wrong with the brain, like how the mental processes do go askew in this particular situation. And once I figured out kind of the roadmap, as in there isn't one, or that it moves at a faster pace with people with this disease, they think they can jump from A to Q, and their words seem to not make sense, but in their head they do. They have just gone that fast. So there's a combination of that, putting those words together for myself and understanding what they are internally so that I can make it a sensical in my own brain. But then I also did a little bit of, she's hearing voices, and the voices are different voices, and who's talking and when, and who's she responding to at any given time, or what influence is she under at that time. Because what seems like, again, it's all making sense within myself of why the strangeness is coming out. It's only strange to someone else, but inside to you, it's not strange. So I had to do a lot of like thinking about, well, where is this coming from? Is somebody saying something to her, or is it herself trying to fight the voice, or is it, or is she just jumping too fast for her own mind, that sort of thing. So I tried to do I did a lot of book work, a lot of highlighting, a lot of like red is this person, black is this person. And I did a lot of work on the page to try to understand, how she gets from A to Z.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. One movie comes to mind that to me showed descent into madness really openly and just so well was Blue Jasmine with Cate Blanchett, who won the Oscar. I thought it was beautifully written, beautifully done. I mean, it shows a person that you see talking to themselves on a bench. You don't know their story or how they got there. And I think that, this movie kind of talks about, things happen. It could be genetic, could be anything, things happen. And you shouldn't sit there and just judge someone. You just don't know what their story is and how they got there. And I thought that's just one film. It reminded me of that one film. I thought that was such a great film, and she deserved the Oscar clearly for it. She showed it. So I thought it was kind of interesting because schizophrenia is a scary thing by itself.
Yeah.
Then you add, is there a dog or something coming in? You got a little doggy?
No, our baby daughter, she just woke up, and so Grandpa came in. They're gonna watch her for a little bit. Otherwise, that's why I kept ducking off because I was texting.
I love it. This is real life, folks. This is real life.
Pandemic life, guys.
Hollywood and everything. This is real life.
Yeah.
Baby's hungry. She's awake. She's hungry.
Well, the interesting thing is that the sort of thing that triggered this story to begin with was a YouTube video that I saw. It was a woman that was raised by her mother that was diagnosed with schizophrenia right after her birth.
The mother
was. And she raised her after that. Her mother was able to raise her, a high functioning with the disease. Okay. And I thought, that's interesting, because I knew just enough to know that it was something that's in your genes. And I knew just enough at the time that it's usually or believed to be like something that's a triggering event. Mm-hmm. And so I started digging into it, and I actually found tons and tons of cases where that was so. So then I reached out to a couple of my friends that were in the mental health profession, and I was like, is this a thing? Is this something? Because it scares the hell out of me. And I'm just a guy, I can't get pregnant as far as I know.
Not yet.
But anyways, and I was assured that, it's sort of, it's, if nothing else, it's a conversation that's in the industry, and people are talking about it. So anyways, back to the point. It's interesting that sort of that triggering event of like this disease that was caused, or at least triggered from the process of pregnancy and giving birth. We actually had Luna shortly after.
Yeah, we got pregnant like
Amanda,
a month later, and then Amanda got
three babies, and then the other director also had a baby. It's like we all had babies.
We're all like, ooh.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I thought that was kind of interesting little factoid about the film.
Well, Amanda, do you believe in supernatural stuff?
Do I? Yeah, actually, I do believe that there's something. I don't know if there are like ghosts haunting me in the middle of the night, but I do believe there's a connection with something spiritual out there. I don't know. There's some unexplained things that have happened to me in my life, and also in general in stories I've heard. So I think it's something that definitely can play on people's fears for sure.
I'm going to tell you, Bradley, right? I had a good spirit in my old house in Pittsburgh.
A good one?
I believe in that.
It would say my name.
Bills,
I wish it did pay my property taxes. I wish it did. Yeah. But I do think it washed over my house because I didn't live there full time. For a while, I was going back and forth. I was in Hollywood doing another thing, back and forth. Then for a while, I couldn't be there for like 6 months at a time, and no one was living in the house. My house was always protected, and whenever I came home, if there was a problem, it would happen right after I got there, and I was able to handle it. So I felt like the spirit was watching my house. And I'll tell you, I would hear it. It would be like, James.
Yeah.
Okay. It was like, James. I'm like, hi. I go, hi. And I was told to like say hi to the spirit when you walk in. Hi, I acknowledge you're here. Blah, blah, blah. Because it wasn't a bad thing. I never felt a bad feeling. All my friends would come over and go, it just seems so warm in your house. Like, it's just a nice house. And I was like, it was a great house. I sold it last year. But I was like,
did you tell him that?
I did. I said, because what's funny is my mother bought me the house 20 years ago as a gift. Yeah. And then, of course, I own the house. She gave me the money to buy it. So another mother, there's no coincidences, bought the house for her son to start out with. And so I was happy to give, it was kind of like I'm passing the torch on. And I talked to the mother and the son, and I actually got to meet them. Usually I don't get to meet them. I got to meet them because Pittsburgh's a small town, whatever. We get to talk. And I said, I just want you to know, there's a nice spirit in the house. I want to be very full disclosure. You may hear something. And he told me later on Instagram, because I did hear it.
Oh.
And he goes, they said it was
I can't.
That's creepy.
I just.
At my old house, my dog would stare at the ceiling, and she's blind, in the same spot, and she would just bark at it all the time. And that was terrifying because she can't even see. So what is she barking at?
How does she know she's there?
Yeah,
I love it. I believe in spirits. I love it. Victoria and Amanda, this question is for you guys. Were there any time during the filming that you wanted to curse out Brad for the dialogue in the scene?
Yes.
Yeah,
Definitely, I do it.
Definitely. And I did. Yeah. I mean, there's a scene where I'm stuck in the, I shouldn't give that away. There's a scene where I'm crying a lot and I'm having a very difficult time.
Yep.
And it was very hot in that particular room, very hot. And I was like dripping sweat. And we shot that take so many times, even after I felt like we got what we wanted. We shot it so many times and I was a wreck until I finally had to leave the room, and I just was bursting into tears and talked to Brad and was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too emotionally taxing on me. That one particularly sticks in my head. And we had the luxury though, because we're such close friends, we had the luxury, Victoria and I, of rehearsing a ton beforehand.
Okay.
So we would rehearse and be like, Brad, what is this? So we got to have a lot of those arguments ahead of time, fortunately.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Well, it was challenging because Amanda and I sort of speak the same actor language, because the way I like to work is more method-y. Ish.
Yep, that's why I lost my mind for at least a year.
But I remember with Victoria the first day, I was speaking that language to her, and she let me know in a very kind way that there's sort of the way she likes to be presented ideas was different than the way Amanda likes to be presented ideas. And as the director, I told her, okay.
Good. Well, I mean, Bradley, so is you. So now, how is Wesley as a director?
He was great. He was great to work with, and I think Wesley came in and really filled in the blanks for the areas where I just am not as good at, and that was one of the thinking, the thought process behind it. I knew like psychologically what I was trying to accomplish, and I knew story-wise and I knew actor-wise what I was trying to accomplish. But as far as picture and how to actually take that from the picture in my head and put it on camera, I feel like I'm smart enough to know that I've got a lot more to learn. So as opposed to just, barreling through, we sort of as a company decided maybe the best route to go would be to bring in someone else who is really good at those things and then work together and find a way to, coexist and make it work. So a lot of conversations beforehand, before we got started, and we basically decided upon how we were going to do things, and then we sort of divided the responsibilities and did it in a way that we felt was going to allow the other person the most freedom in the thing that we felt they could optimize. So I did a lot of the story work in the conversations and preparations beforehand, and then allowed him to sort of take over more of the picture-wise and sort of calling the shots per se on set and those things. And I tried not to interfere too much unless I felt as though there was something in the performance or a shot that we needed to get in order to make sure that the purpose of the scene I felt as though was captured. So yeah, I just felt like it was really sort of a team situation, and I think we did pretty well. I think it's very difficult for two people to sit down and agree to tell the same story, which took and I give him all the credit. It took a tremendous amount both of us trying to put our egos aside in order to accomplish that,
Well,
which
plus
wasn't always easy. It helped. I had the easy route because all three of us are producers. So when anything went wrong on set and we have 2 directors and they have to act, I gotta go. And so,
he's a producer too, but in a different way. You know, the way that we all kind of divided responsibilities, like you said, according to what we knew who should be handling what.
Yeah, a truck got caught in a lake.
You know, he's gonna go.
I had to go help.
And Wes is
Yeah, that actually happened.
But I will say, one of the co-producers, Chris Dexter, was pretty instrumental in getting that truck out of the creek.
Yeah.
Shout out to you for that.
Well, that's what.
Don't take all.
No, Brad did too. I'm just giving a special shout out to him.
No, I wasn't tall enough for the river. I couldn't go to help push the truck because I would have drowned. But Chris was able to.
This was such a.
I'm sorry, producer. He was a producer, not a co-producer. Sorry, Chris.
No.
Producer. Got it.
Yeah. No, Chris was unbelievable. Chris.
But it just sounds like you had. It's like you said, it was a company of people who came together.
Yeah.
No matter what the titles are, they all came together to put this film together, which is what happens when you do indie films.
Yes.
You all do. Somebody's getting the coffee. 1 minute.
On the first day, the day before we started filming, Victoria and I were shoveling donkey and horse crap out of a barn. So.
Okay.
Most lead actresses don't do that, I don't think.
No, they don't.
Because that's where all the equipment essentially needed to go because we couldn't get our lighting truck and across.
Because the river, the road had washed out.
See, there's a story that
there was a storm before we filmed, right before we filmed, and the loading road was completely flooded. So we had to load all our gear through a suspension bridge that was like 100 feet, yards, I don't know, like 100 feet.
It was like a 500-pound dolly. We had to use 3 people to push across a bridge that was about
2 feet.
Yeah.
2 feet. Up to 3.
And swinging. It was a suspension bridge.
Yeah, it was.
It's actually a bridge that's in the film. You can see it and
Okay,
think about us loading all our gear.
Everything.
And we had 1 day to do it.
Our crew, everybody on that set worked so hard just to make the thing happen, just to make the day even happen. Yeah. I mean, it like we owe every single one of those people a drink or a coffee.
Bars are closed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, I want people to know that when people do, indie films, it's completely, it's a team effort. I mean, it really is a team effort. You can have titles, it's almost cussed. You have titles in F, but it really don't matter when it comes to day-to-day operations or trying to run. Someone can be holding the boom. Someone can hold me. You're the lead in the film, but I'd
be like, okay, I'm doing my scene, but guys, we have to break for lunch at this time, please, and make sure this is cleaned up after.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wore multiple hats, so it's like to say one person did one thing is
it's team effort.
It's really impossible. So.
Well, like I said, this film is amazing, and I think folks need to see it. And so, it's if you want something that's gonna make you go, "What? Oh,
That's not right."
Yeah. What? It's your performances are really, really good. I mean, they're really, really, really good. Really good. And I've seen Amanda in other things, so I've seen. I was like, I haven't seen you in this role before. This is something. It was something totally different.
And then, honestly, that's one of the reasons I wrote it, because Amanda gets a lot of times with the stuff that she gets auditions for in Hollywood and whatnot. The stuff agents and managers get her in for. It's always like, not always, but a lot of it is like upbeat, bubbly, and whatnot. And like, yeah, sure, that's Amanda, but sort of.
It's like the tip of the iceberg of what.
It's the tip of the iceberg, and I know that other side of her, and that's. I know that other side of her that likes to really go dark, and so I wanted to give her the chance to play something like that, and I knew she'd be able to knock it out of the park. I knew Victoria was going to knock her part out of the park, so yeah, I wanted to lean into that, So.
And it came out of your mind. That's crazy. Brad.
I have to be married to one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it came out of your mind. Like this story came from you. So like that's
Yeah, it's weird too, because that's usually the way it goes. Like I'll write a movie, like a Korean revenge story one day, and then I'll literally the next week I'll sit down and write like a Christmassy Hallmark thing.
Very versatile.
Fun.
It's fun. Storytelling is just like, why not go on all sorts of adventures? And
well, we're all everyone is really multifaceted, right? And we're not just one thing. Just like Brad was saying about me, we're a lot of layers, and there's a lot of different contradictory emotions in everyone. And so I think that's what Brad is touching on a little bit. He has different interests and different emotions, and as do I, like he mentioned. And so it's nice, I think, for people to be able to explore all of them.
And for the actors to play different kinds of roles. You guys get to play different kinds of roles. You don't play the same thing all the time. Well, that's boring. You get to play different, you get to wear different hats and try different things, and that's what actors want to do, right? They want to play different roles. That's the whole point.
I would think so. Man, I couldn't imagine, like, I mean, it'd be nice to get the paycheck to be like the guy that always plays the car mechanic every time, and boy, do I get paid a lot of money to play that car mechanic, and I really don't need to do anything because everybody knows I'm the car mechanic. But to me, that's not interesting. To me, it's like, I want to be able to explore all those different types of lives. And I think that's one thing I love about writing so much. You know, and she gives me a hard time about it. You know, both of them do. They say I need to write more stuff that's like written around my type, because it opens up opportunities for myself.
As an actor. He's an actor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing that I like so much about writing is, to me, you know, it's the hero of 1,000 faces. You know, it's like we're all human, and so there's all this. We all have a similar wants, needs, and whatnot. There's little varying experiences in our life, but it's all human. So to be able to act, you're still only going to get to put in that range. Like, you can play from here to here, and people's range is different, right?
Yeah.
But as a writer, people want to box us right now, but I think that's trash. I think that's absolutely stupid. I mean, the whole point of writing is to allow yourself to explore whatever. So I like to be able to write the furthest deviation away from who I am, so that I can go explore that for a little bit. So I like to be able to write a movie about two women, you know, dealing with mental health issues, and then I'll turn around and write a movie that is a Korean revenge film, because I'm obsessed with Korean revenge films. And I don't think anybody should be able to say, hey, you can't do that because you're not a woman with a mental health issue.
I agree.
That's fair. I want to be able to write that. And if that woman with a mental health issue wants to write my story, go right ahead. You know?
Well, you're talking to a person who does two different things. So I trust you. I co-sign all this. I mean, I don't do just one thing, and people know that. So I mean, I feel like you should go. The life you have, one life, live it. You know, be creative. Create how you want, not what people tell you.
Yeah. And if if I write something and people are like, wow, that's a shitty story. Okay. So I guess, but that's okay. I want the opportunity to fail at whatever art I'm trying to do.
You just at least.
Well, my thing is, it's completion. The whole point is, some people talk to death. I'm gonna write, I'm gonna do, and nothing comes out. At least you could say whether it's received well or not. I can do it.
Yeah, I did it.
I did it. I mean, that shows something. It shows when you can do a beginning, middle, and end completion. To me, that's everything.
Yeah,
that's it. But thank you guys for being on the show. Of course, thank you. My good friends, and now I got a new good friend, Victoria. That's why I'm a new friend now. We're gonna do a Broadway musical one day together. I'm gonna do it.
Oh yes, that would be great.
I'm ready. No.
Awesome.
I'm also gonna thank, because he's not here, one of our EP, and he's also basically a producer, Andy, who literally none of our projects as a company could have happened.
Oh, well, then Andy, yes. What's his full name?
To him, Andy Weisenberg.
Hi, Andy Weisenberg. We're gonna make sure we say his name.
Thank you.
That's right. I wonder why you're saying his name. No, but that's good. We should totally mention him, of course.
Yeah.
I love it.
I have to.
Yeah, I know, girl.
No, this project really, like we touched on, was a whole lot of people effort, and like indie film you mentioned can't be done without a little tiny village.
The village is very important, folks.
Our company's been built on basically the four of us, and all of us have brought different strengths, and Andy doesn't always get in front of the camera for
anything.
But he's always
the driving force
and
that makes it happen.
And he also does, like, it's crazy because the guy's seeing how much he's learned about storytelling and how much he brings to the table too when we have our breakdowns of scripts, shorts, features, ideas. It's really pretty incredible. So yeah, we call it Three Tales Productions, but it's been four basically.
And he's good looking. He should be on camera, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Another story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to try to get him. He's good looking, folks. He should be on camera. Maybe one day you'll convince him to do a cameo or something. He'll do a walk on or something.
Oh, he did in Love, Meet, Hope, and it was pretty much, I think, cut or something.
Yeah.
So he did it for like a second, and that was his first and last.
Yeah. Well, I've known you two almost 4 years, I think, at this point. So it's been a while, kids.
Yeah.
Time flies. Time flies. I remember when Brad had no facial hair, so it's that time flies.
Yeah. Did you like the facial hair in the movie?
I did. Yeah.
Full mountain man.
Yeah, I won't get into anything, but yeah, it's.
Oh, that's a fight we had, was about, can you cut your beard, trim your beard for the
so funny.
I did not want to cut the beard, and I remember Lynn told me afterwards. She was so sweet on set, never said anything about it, but afterwards she's like, that beard, no.
Well, it's forever on film.
Yeah.
So there you were. That was your choice.
For men, they come beards, no beard. It's a thing for us. It's our thing.
Yeah.
I go with Bradley. I said them all these years. I go with them on that. I understand that. I get it.
I like beards. But this was out of control. It was
out of control. But yeah, I get it. I get it. I loved it though. I loved it. So, folks, where can they find this film? What's going on with the film? Let's promote the film. What's going on?
We have a great distribution team behind us. Throughline Films is our producer's rep, and we are with Cinedigm and Kaleidoscope internationally. And it's all over the place on streaming, like Amazon, Apple, Google, Sony, Vudu. If you watch Vudu,
Xbox.
It's Xbox. It's everywhere. People do watch it. You watch everything. So check it out. You can Google it. It's not the Ryan Reynolds'
No, it's not that one, folks. No, it's not that one.
He's got some voices.
But yeah, it's all over streaming devices, which I think people are doing a lot of these days.
They are actually. So The Voices, it's called, folks. And The Voices. Everybody, that's called, folks. I'm James Lott Jr. You can follow me where all James Lott Juniors are sold, at James Lott Jr. and all social media platforms. And this show is on every streaming service you can think of, from Deezer to Spotify, iHeartRadio, everything. And it's on JLJ Media, which is my company, on YouTube. Everyone, please stay safe and sane. Watch movies, watch streaming stuff, support local and indie artists, and we'll see you next time.